Hello everyone and welcome back to Family Life Builders TV, where we're rebuilding homes and transforming society. My name is Tosin Opeoluwa and I am a transformational coach. Today I just have a quick message, and it's about the level of violence that I keep seeing around, and the greater percentage of this was coming from the space of these narcissistic behaviors. And yeah, I will say men do the same, women do the same, but let's look at it from another angle. Let's look at it from the angle of a need for family to change pattern, to change dynamics. And remember that no narcissist dropped from heaven. They were born, they were raised by someone consciously or unconsciously. And the truth is, life is beautiful when family, becomes a beautiful space for everyone. And you can't have a good family without good parents and good children. Narcissism is the language that is prevalent in our society today. And you can easily identify this in most toxic relationship or abusive relationship. And really, this is happening because these children did not, just come into this world. Their heart was plain. They call it tabula rasa. It was plain. They don't know anything. So children inculcate some of the things that parents are doing consciously or unconsciously, or directly or indirectly. And by directly, I'm saying that you give them direct instruction. And by indirectly, I mean that there are some certain behaviors and characteristic traits that those children saw, their parents emitting, and then they feel this is right. They feel, well, this is the best thing and this is the best I can be. So now, don't let me forget, if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment. And remember, it's a conversation. I'm always going to come back and check all the comments and respond to all the comments. Let me know what you think. Do you think that children always choose the life they want to live despite who their parents are, or how their parents train them? Or you also feel that narcissistic behavior comes from what parents teach their children directly or indirectly? Now let's look at those 7 traits that I know. If you have any other, please feel free to add or share, and I'll read it and I'll talk about it. Number 1 is entitlement. Entitlement. Most of the time, you see people do some things. For example, parents don't want to hear their children out. They just feel they can do anything because they are the parents. Is an entitlement on your part, because you feel, well, I'm the parent, I can do anything, I can say anything because this is my child, I am feeding you, so you should listen to me, you should obey me. No, it ought not to be so. We need to learn to give these children the opportunity to respond to us. We need to give them the opportunity to say their mind. We need to give them the opportunity to reason out things, to reason out situations, to set boundaries together. If not, when they grow up, they feel entitled, and it's difficult for them to obey authority because their parents feel entitled and never allow them. You can only see, you can talk. That is not the best way to raise our kids, because when we are raising them that way, they will become entitled. And when they get married, they do the same thing to their spouse, which does not end well in most cases. So we must allow them to negotiate with us. Number 2, impatience. And this is very common. And you can see this happening. There was this challenge that was going on TikTok. I don't know, many of you must have seen it. That people will give their dogs or their children, they will give them snacks, and they will tell them, don't touch it, I'm going to come back, don't touch it, I'm going to come back. Then the parents will hide somewhere and see if the child really wants to. A lot of children actually ate the snacks before their parents come back, and some of those children did not eat the snacks before their parents come back. I'm just giving that as an example, but most of the time we test the level of patience of our children this way. And for many parents too, this also sounds like entitlement. You are on a queue, maybe at the store or somewhere, or at the airport, and you just feel like you are just unnecessarily in a hurry. You saw the queue, everyone is going to where you are going to, and we become unnecessarily impatient. We want to snap at the person, at the front. We want everybody to be in a hurry, everybody to do things, at our pace, forgetting that everybody has the way they function. We don't function the same way. You don't expect we don't have the same brain. That's the truth. So our brain functions differently. So why do we want people to function at our level? It's unfair on the children for us to be so impatient with them that we want them to function at our pace, because when we are even at their age, we don't function at their pace. We don't function at their level. So when you are exhibiting this kind of traits unconsciously, you are passing it across to your children. And that becomes a problem. People becomes impatient even in the space of having, intimacy with their partners. That's why you see that people find it difficult to have foreplay before they do the real thing. Because why? Impatience. So we must learn to be patient. We must learn to, do this unconsciously. This has to be done consciously. This has to be a conscious effort. This has to be an intentional effort. I mean, we don't how do I put this? We don't drop from heaven. So we don't expect ourselves to have, many of this character and have it at a goal. But of course, we can work towards it. We can be intentional about it. We can be intentional about who we want to be. We can be intentional about what we want to be. And we can work towards it one step at a time. But if we don't see it as a problem, we can't even we can't work out something until we see it as a problem, until we see it as something that we should deal with. The next thing is ingratitude. I have seen, and this is also part of entitlement, because people are ungrateful because they feel that, well, it's my right. Well, I'm entitled to this. You should do this for me. You should not complain when I ask you to do this. Unconsciously, we are building those children unconsciously. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't train our children. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, ask our children, place a demand on them for something. But I'm saying that we should be grateful when they do these things for us. I've seen parents that they can actually say thank you to their children, because they tell you that, well, I'm feeding you, I'm clothing you, why should I say thank you to you? What you don't know is when you say thank you to these children, you are passing it to them, and they will pass it to another person. I've seen a couple that their pastor walk up to them and told the husband and say, bro, you don't know how to say thank you. Your wife is, better than you in saying thank you. I'm not saying pastor should say that in the presence of the couple, but that's the truth. That's the reality. That's the reality. People should learn to be grateful. You should learn to appreciate your children. I'm not saying we should overcompensate our children, but we must learn to say thank you when they do things for us. I saw this. There's this woman that has she has one child. And at the time, what I'm saying was very emotional for me. That day, the girl was coming back from school. The school bus dropped them, and I was in our mom's shop, and I was sitting down there. And she came back. In Africa, we kneel down and greet our parents when we come back from school or when we wake up in the morning. And she knelt down. She greeted our mom. She greeted me, and I said, "How are you? How are you doing?" And she said she was fine. The next thing, she opened her bag and brought out jewelries. She brought out a jewelry and said, "Mommy, I bought it for you." This was the money that our mom gave to her in the morning, and she used it to buy something for our mom when she was coming back. The mother was so grateful. She hugged her, and I have to, even myself, I have to say thank you for that. We should learn to be grateful to our children. When they help us doing little things with their tiny hands, let us learn to say thank you to them. When we feel it's their duty because we are feeding them, we are taking care of them, it's unfair. We are raising them to be ungrateful. When you do something for, sometimes people tell us that culture is different, but when you do something for your children, the following day, it's not bad to ask them to say, "Mommy, Daddy, thank you for yesterday. Thank you for being a blessing." Culture differ, but let me tell you, I have seen it here that when you learn how to say thank you, people cherish you, people appreciate you. So I don't think it's a function of culture. I think it's a function of being human. It is a function of training, these children to be grateful. And the world is made that way. When we learn to be grateful for things, we get more is being released onto us. More abundance is being released onto us as we learn to say thank you, as we learn to be grateful for everything. Now, number 3 or number 4, you need to make your children to feel they are equal. We should not make our children feel they are superior to other people. One of the reasons why you see that people bully in schools is simply because someone is feeling superior to another person. They feel this person does not belong to our group. This person does not belong to our category. Why? Because you, as parents, you already make them feel that, they need to, there's this kind of a person that you should work with. There's this, and I'm not saying that children should work with people who have the tendency to corrupt them, because the Bible told us that we should not be deceived. Evil communication corrupts good manners. So even when children have the tendency to be good children, the kind of people they work with, put them in trouble sometimes. I have seen children who ran into trouble, who ran into, so many lots of issues, academic issues, suspension and all that, simply because of the kind of a person they are working with. That's not the case. The case here is us parents making the children to believe that they are superior than others. And how did we do this unconsciously or indirectly? Some of the ways by which we do this unconsciously or indirectly is when families are sitting together and you bring up the topic of another family. Oh my God. People, I've seen families, you will sit down and you will bring up topic of people from the church, families in the neighborhood, and you start talking about them. You start saying negative things about them. You start feeling like you are better than them. Even in your even in your family. You bring up the issue of your sister and their children. You bring up the issue of your brother and their children. You bring up the issue of your cousins and their children. You start saying negative things about them, the neighbors, the children in the school. You bring up their issues and you start saying negative things about these people. You're not doing it right. You're making those children feel they are better than other people. So when they get out there, it's difficult for them to see the real person they are, because they already feel that they are better than the other person. And that makes them to frown at authority. That makes them to you know to always want to please you. Yes, that's the word. They always want to please you because, of course, because you already make them to feel they are better than every other person. Then that makes them to want to please you continuously, so that you can keep praising them. Because for some parents who themselves has this narcissistic characteristics, one of the demand is that the children must always come out the best in school, in every areas of their lives, in sports and all that. I don't know if you remember the spelling bee. One of the parents of the competitors, you remember, the parent will scold the boy simply because he wants the boy to be the best. And it's not wrong to want your children to be the best, but we must learn to let them know that life does not always give what you want or what you expect, and they should always allow the space for not getting what they want every time, because life is designed that way and it makes you learn. So if we're treating them that way, if we're making them feel superior to others, when wanting them to always be the best, wanting to satisfy us every time, what we are teaching them is to do the same thing, and which will hurt other people. And that brings me to the next one, which is empathy. Not showing empathy when you catch yourself saying that, is their problem, even to your own family member, you lack empathy. People might find themselves in some place out of, poor choices for real. Yes, people might have make poor choices around you. And the truth is, at the time people are making those poor choices, they are making it because that's the level or the amount of information or exposure they have at that time. So people are going to operate from that space because that's what they know. So they are going to base their decision on that. And of course, with your poor choices, there's a consequence for it. But do we really have to put it to their face? No, we need to show empathy. We might allow them to bear their burden, but we must show empathy. We must show our children empathy as well. I've seen parents, when anything happens to people around them, they just feel, well, that's their business. That's not my business. That's their problem. That's not my problem. We see this in, even couples do the same thing to themselves. And when they are doing this, they are showing their children that, well, you don't need empathy, just be yourself and, be the best that you can be. It doesn't matter, whatever happened to other people around you. That's not right. We need to change this if we are doing this. The next one is not creating emotional connection. So when you are raising your children this way, by not hugging your children, I don't know, people still do it today. Some parents still do it today. You can't say, it's difficult for you to say you love your children. It's difficult for you to hug them or hug them. It's difficult for you to, show them love the way they want to be loved. Excuse me, recently I was asking my children, I was doing a research, and because I was writing a book, and I was asking my children about what do they define as love, or what do they see as love. So I'm trying to find out information from children and adults, what they see as love, because sometimes what you see as love is different from what the other person see as love. And that's why I recommend the Gary Chapman's book, the 5 love languages. It's essential for everyone to have it. And I think I made a video on that, please go to Family Life Builders TV channel on YouTube and check the live videos. I have it there, 5 love languages. I just have a short video on it, so it's okay to check that video out. Now, number 6, seeing they are always right and never responsible for anything. When parents feel that is correct, everything I do is correct, nobody can talk to me, I'm too big for my shoes, I don't see this as wrong, your wife complain about something, you will not change, your spouse complain about something, you will not change, and your children complain about something, you will not change, you are telling these children something, these children will not change, then what are we raising? Unconsciously, we are not doing it well enough. There's a need for everyone to come to a space of seeing what is wrong as what is wrong from your perspective and from my perspective, and all of us reaching an equilibrium point where we will say, okay, so this is it, this is what is right, this is what is, for me, this is what is right. Then we weigh it, on the space of or ought. Does it ought the other person? Is it the right thing socially, emotionally, spiritually? Is this thing right? Is this thing correct? Then if it is, then, and if it's not, then we need to work on it. We need to work on it. On Sunday, I brought my guest. You need to watch that video. We talk about becoming a success intentionally. And we talked about, success in relationships, success in career, and success in society. Everything has to be intentional. So when we are trying to raise these children correctly, when we are trying to raise these children, it has to be intentional. We really need to know, what is it that we want? We don't want to raise narcissists. We want to reduce the level of violence in our society. We want to reduce the level of violence in our homes. We want to reduce the level of, or even eradicate violence in our society. And we can't do this by not putting an end to some of these narcissistic behaviors, consciously or unconsciously. We need to put an end to it so that we can have a better society, we can have a better life, we can have better people. And the last one will be having high unreasonable expectation about themselves and that of others. And I think I've mentioned that earlier. So let me recap a bit. Number 1 is being having form of entitlement, having entitlement mentality. Number 2 is being impatient and ungrateful. Number 3 is making your child to feel superior than other people. And I think it looks like the same thing like what I just said last, having high and unreasonable expectation of themselves and others, because when you feel superior, you feel, well, I have to do it right every time, I must not be wrong. And that is not helping their life skill, because children must develop life skill for them to be able to undo life challenges. That's what makes somebody becomes a better person day in, day out. Number 4, not lacking empathy. Number 5, not creating emotional connection with your children. Number 6, seeing that they always have the responsibility. They don't have responsibility for any other person, but they are always right. Anything that they do is right. Anything that they do is correct. And that last one was unreasonable expectation. I hope that helps someone. Anytime I have a feeling like this, I feel someone needs to hear this, because I'm supposed to be sleeping, but I decided to, talk about this, and I hope this helps someone out there. Until I come your way again, keep becoming a better you, because things work when we work it. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Bye for now.